Lebitso la ka ke Johanna Nkosi, ke mama Poppy as ka mokgwa o ba mmitsang. Ke go bolelela gore he ne o ka kry-a ba tshameka medlalo ela ya bona ela ba tshameka legusha and then ba dlala kgati, no re he o ema o mo lebelela o bona gore mara mola aowa kore motho o ke ngwanyana e no ba a fapana fela ka wa tlhaloganya mara yena ke ngwanyana. Le he nne ke mo isa ko crèche-eng, ga ke tsena ko crèche-eng ke re ke tlisitse ngwana e le gona ke ile go mo register-a ko crèche-eng and then ba mpotsisa ba re okay lebitso la gae ke mang, ngwanyana o mo pila o kare aowa ga se ngwanyana ke moshimane. So batho ne ba o kry-a ba nyaka gore ke motlhobole ba mmone gore vele ga gore ke moshimane ka mannete na.
My name is Lana. Alex is my son. Alex was assigned female at birth, but from the age of about 3, since Alex could talk, he told me he was a boy. So when he came out to me at 12, it really was not a shock or a surprise. I'm Alex's mom, proud mom. It's an interesting thing because even though I knew Alex was trans from very young, I really had a strong suspicion and I felt that, that was who my child was. When he formally came out to me, and it was like he understood himself, there was a period of immense grieving. I actually collapsed. I was at a friend of mine's house and I literally just fell into the shower and I collapsed in a heap and I cried for 2 days. Even though I knew in my gut and my soul and my whole being, I knew that Alex was who he was. It wasn't a shock on that level. The system went into shock. And I grieved. I grieved heavily. I grieved for things that I had anticipated having with a daughter. And I didn't know everyone said, yeah, but you're gaining a son. Everyone in the support community said, you're gaining a son. I couldn't feel that initially. I didn't know what that meant. All I could feel was losing things like walking her down the aisle and having grandchildren and, the typical things that you imagine. I really had to come to terms with losing this child who in my mind existed but wasn't real. I think that's the best way to describe it. And getting to know that Alex is still Alex. The child that I thought I was losing is still there. It's just a different packaging.
I am Tandiwe Shabalala, grandmother to a 13-year-old transgender boy. I'm raising him as his guardian because he has lost his mom with the help from his aunt. When he was still a baby, when it was time for potty training, I think potty training is around 2 years. When he was taking him out of the nappy to train him to use the bathroom, he will be frustrated. He wanted to pee standing. So usually when we are dressing up in the morning, there were dresses supposed to be dressed in dresses. It will be a struggle. We would fight. Then I will say, never, you're gonna wear these dresses because your mom has bought these dresses. We buy him dolls. Never. Then the mom said, Mom, let me enroll him at the ballet classes. Every Saturday we used to go there and watch them doing the practice. Almost when they're practicing, and then there's a style that they must learn. The girls will learn softly. It will go boom, and the floor was a wooden floor. Then the teacher will say, no, you must learn softly. Never. That's the day. Then we decided no, we are traumatizing the child. Never. My daughter sat me down. She said, Mommy, I'm gonna buy clothes in the boys department.
Ek is Dion Valdien. Ek is Kim se pa.
Ek is Nicolette Valdien en ons is die trotse ouers van Kim. die pragtigste transgender dogter op wie ons verskriklik trots is. Kim is nou 23. Na Kim se geboorte was dit nie lank het ons begin agterkom dat Kim hou van poppe. En Kim speel in 'n groep met die meisiekinders in plaas van met die seunskinders. So basies het ons geweet met die vroegste al dat Kim is anders. Maar vir ons was dit nie asof Kim anders was nie, want ek dink ons is nie die tipe mense wat mense in boksies druk nie. So vir ons was dit, Kim is anders en dis dit. Dis fyn met ons. Vir ons was dit, ons wil 'n gelukkige kind hê. Ons wil 'n normale kind hê, want since when is dit abnormaal om anders te wees? Dis eintlik goed om anders te wees. So ons het nooit 'n probleem gehad met Kim, so Kim het nooit uit die boks geklim nie, of so uit die kas geklim, sou hulle sê nie, want ons het nooit vir Kim in 'n boks gedruk nie. Kim kon Kim wees, hy hele lewe lank.
I am the mom of a gender diverse 7-year-old who was assigned female at birth based on presenting a female physique, but who by the age of 3 years old had started to communicate and express that they in fact identified as male. One of the things I have noticed in our gender diverse parent support group is that most parents have a memory or some kind of reference to their children trying to communicate to them between the ages of 3 to 5 years old that they were identifying differently to the sex that they were assigned. I think we are so quick to write off these expressions that come from children between the ages of 3 to 5 years old as stages, phases. They don't know what they're talking about. They must be confused.
Something I also spend a lot of time educating people around is because people often come to me and say, but isn't it just a phase? It's that's the common thing. Isn't this just a phase? People are just going through a phase. And what I often say to people is, well, it's a long phase, number one, because usually they come to me at the point where they've actually gone through a lot of stuff. I think that also the thing to understand is that not everybody's going to want to have full surgery. A lot of people identify on the continuum, and they're quite happy to have a certain amount of body. They don't have to change their bodies completely, but they need to be accepted. So it's a very broad space. And I think that's where I spend a lot of time educating my patients. Alex has had the same friends from grade 2. So when he was presenting in the other way and he was under his birth name, his friends loved him. And then they had a lot of support from the school in understanding what he was going through. And then they transitioned to from the female name to his male name. And they've accepted him on the whole. There are a couple of kids who can be pretty mean. But fortunately, his school stamped down on that quite quickly. But I think that he's in a privileged environment. Not a lot of schools have adjusted to accepting him the way that his school has. And we had several meetings with the headmistress. And what she said was so lovely. She said, you are the first child who's transitioning formally in the school, but you're not going to be the last, and we're going to learn from you. They really facilitated a way forward for him by speaking to his grade, class by class, about the changes that were going on and changing his name. And they stamped on bullying very quickly. But not all schools are like that. Alex was really privileged to have that kind of support. And the same goes for high school. I just wish more schools were inclusive like that, because it really, I think it saved my boy. It saved him mentally. It saved him from depression. And it gave him a place that was safe. School's supposed to be a safe place. And I think his school was, but a lot of schools are not.
Ja, dit was moeilik. Vir Kim om by die huis as 'n dogter behandel te word of groot gemaak te word as 'n meisiekind in die huis en dan buite toe te gaan, skool toe, kerk toe en dan as 'n seun geklassifiseer te word. So dit was moeilik. Want in die huis is jy in buite moet jy voorgee iemand of iets anders en dit was ongelukkig nogal sleg. Dit was sleg. En ek dink met Kim se hare, Kim het hare begin groei op 9. En ons het die probleem gehad by die skool dat hulle het die reëls laat seuns se hare moet 'n sekere lengte wees. So Kim is nooit by die skool beskou as 'n dogter. Kim het geval en dit was erg. Want in skooltyd, vakansietyd, vir al die 3 weke vakansie wat nou lank is, het Kim se hare verskriklik lank gegroei en dan moet hulle Januarie terug skool toe en dan moet die hare almal afgeknip word. So dit was nogal traumaties. Toen ek het alle jare self Kim se hare gesny en dat ek het so gesny dat dit net gemaak dat Kim gestraf kan word. So ons het gehou by die lengte wat ons kon. Laat Kim nou net die straf kry by die skool vir die jare, nee. Maar dit was vir ons ook traumaties, want ek kon nie teleurstelling sien en ek kon nie teleurstelling aanvoel wat Kim voel want ek dink hare is mos maar nou 'n belangrike deel van die transformasie in 'n vrou. So dit is erg om dit wat nou nog vir jou soos 'n vrou laat lyk weg te vat. So ja, ek dink dit was vir ons almal maar traumatiese ervaring.
When he was doing grade 4, he said, no. Don't buy me girls' uniform now. I want boys' wear. So we are even taking him to private schools because, our government schools, even from the office there, they'll give that attitude. So we're taking him to private school. You tell them that, they say, okay, mommy, it's fine. Up to now, I don't have any problem. They've accepted him.
Because it really ntse bonahala ko mathomo mara papa ha ina sa tshepe o nile o tsere nako hore a ka e accepta mara ka feletsa ke motse ya papa ke mme ya mo fatsa re no ha ona ka mokhontse re ka etsang o tshwantse re no amohela the way ngwana a leng ka teng, otherwise re tla mo loser. Ka bolella papa he was good ka yona, ke hopole bila a tsamaya a ile mo rekela le roko a tla mo reketse roko e white.
Well, yeah, so we had to go through a few things and very soon we joined a support group, and then you learn very, very quickly. And you either have to learn to accept it or, so I mean, obviously the choice was to support my daughter through whatever she was going through.
So that wasn't a hard decision for you?
No, for me, I feel we knew something was not quite right with her, from a mental sort of framework over the last number of years since she was about 13. Problems at school, going to a psychiatrist. We thought maybe she had schizophrenia or was bipolar. So we'd already addressed so many different issues. And once this came to light, it sort of made a lot more sense. And we also realized why my wife's underwear disappeared when our then son was about 10 years old.
My child is adopted. And when we went through the adoption process, my husband had only one requirement, that we not adopt a boy. He was really adamant that we were going to adopt a girl because he was like, I'm not into all this sports stuff. I'm not into all this like oak and manly and masculine stuff. I would rather have a kick-ass feminist daughter. Well, as it turns out, even though we thought we adopted a daughter, it turns out that he's a boy. And so there was Dad on the side of the field cheering on soccer, even cheering on rugby. I couldn't believe it. And so it just goes to show, even if you think you know what you want, when you meet your child and you love them, you'll do anything for them.
Now the community will give you stress. Why are you allowing that? Then the mom said, you know what, mommy? We can't make people to understand. It's their choice, and we don't have to worry about them because we don't owe them any explanation. But me, I took it as My daughter, when she was expecting, I prayed to God. I said, God, if you can only give me a son. I don't have a son. If this grandchild of mine can be a son. And even the mom, she says she wanted a baby boy. So in my little head, I said, maybe God, so good, I don't have that strength to raise a straight boy child. So he answered my prayers. He gave me a boy in this choice. We love him. We have accepted him. I usually tell him, good, you know what? People outside there, the world is very cruel. You mustn't mind them. We here in the house, we're giving you all the support. We're behind your back. We love you. We support whatever route you want to take.
We are parents to a non-binary child. From day one, we have always supported them, even though at the time we didn't understand what non-binary meant. Society was always going to judge our child harshly in an Indian community, but please make sure that your home environment is a safe place for them, and that is exactly what we did. Home was always a safe environment for our child. We have even cut ties with family members who chose not to support or understand our child. And we have learned to keep the circle smaller and intact.
Kyk, ons lewe in 'n gemeenskap of in 'n tyd van mense vir alle veroordeel gou. Mense is gou veroordeel vir al as jy in so 'n situasie is. Jy is maar altyd veroordeel of nou jou vriende is, of jou bure of mense wat iemand is altyd veroordelend. So ons het daai dat as daar iets slegs gebeur met ons het probeer positief maak, laat Kim weet. Dis 'n positiewe ding, dis nie 'n negatiewe ietsie. Al laat hulle jou voel is negatief. Dit is nie.
I think that it's incredibly hard for extended family to accept children who are transgender. And the reason for that is because they're not living with that child. In my own experience, it's been a process that my family's had to adjust to in terms of pronouns and name. Some family members are far more accepting than others. Some people decide, if you're not going to accept my child, then I'm going to kick you out of my life. That's not necessarily the way that all families go, though. The reality is that the whole world is not a fair place. So you have to also teach your children to bounce back and to be able to deal with that. That's part of the resilience factor. And to accept that some people are not going to accept them. He really struggled with the sense of not liking his body and not feel comfortable. Showering in the dark because he waited until the last minute to go to have a shower before he went to bed. And it was vital for us to get the top surgery. I had a lot of judgment and a lot of criticism around that because he was only 15 when he had his surgery. And I faced a lot of criticism around that. But he's my son and I made that decision. Together with his father, we decided that was the right thing for our son because I, as a mother, could not stand looking at my boy and him feeling so sad. It was very hard to watch that, and I didn't want to see that anymore. And he deserves to have a body he's comfortable in. He now walks around the house proudly without a top, and he looks at himself in the mirror, and he's like, his scars are like battle scars. I think that for him, they're almost like a conquest.
I usually tell him, good, you know what? You mustn't mind people outside because people always like to criticize. They'll tell you, why are you allowing that? He's still young and you're not. Here you're not allowing it. It's in the genes, you can see. He plays soccer. At school, he used to be a goalkeeper. He was playing soccer with the boys. So you see, you can't change that. You can't force, good, yeah, you're born being a girl. You must know. You can see clearly, and even the posture, everything, it tells you it's a boy trapped in a girl's body, Who are we to question that? We must accept that. It's a gift. This is a special gift. I always tell him, good, you are my special boy. and I love you the way you are.
It's been my experience, both as a professional and in my own personal life, trying to get people to understand that my son doesn't choose this, and my choice to accept him is because I love him and because I don't see another way forward. Acceptance for me is everything.
Then Ashue o hodile ke transgender today ke ausi o mobila. And then I'm very proud gore ke ipitse mama hae. I'm very proud gore nka bolella batho ka yena. And ha ke tshapo botsa motho rona ngwana wa ka ke transgender.
Vir ons is dit 'n moeilike vraag as mense vra dat wat maak ons besonder as ouers om 'n dogter te hê soos Kim? Want vir my is die gevoel ons is glad nie besonder nie, want elke ouer moet sy kind lief hê. So hoekom moet ek spesiaal? Hoekom is ek 'n spesiale ouer omdat ek vir Kim lief het as transgender? Ek het vir Kim lief as my kind, of dit nou 'n transgender kind is en of dit nou wat se kind is. Dis 'n doodgewone normale gevoel om 'n transgender kind te hê. En ek is net lief vir my kind, klein lief vir my kind, maak nie van my 'n besonderse ouer, want dit is wat van my verwag word. God wil hê ons moet ons kinders lief hê. En ek het my kind lief. Dit begin by liefde. Ons moet hulle lief hê. Want dit is ons kinders.
I was born as a girl on the outside, but I am actually a boy on the inside. I told my family, and my family was really proud of me. I hope that other families can be proud of their children and that other families can listen to their children. Thank you, bye.